Ren is saying it's time for everyone to look in the mirror and see how you're playing into this money game. It is partially our faults. We can point fingers all we want at other people and the rich and everything, but if we're the people who are supporting those people, we might be partly to blame. Hey everyone, I'm back with another Ren reaction. So today I'm going to be doing the Money Game Part 1. I am so excited for this one. Ever since I put out my very first Ren reaction video, people have been recommending the money games. So now that I finished Vincent's Tales, I finally feel ready to move on to the money games. So I made this YouTube channel with the intention of talking about current events in America and my opinions of what is currently going on in this country, in our society, within our government. I filmed my very first YouTube video, I think within hours of Alex Preddy being killed. I am obviously very into music. I feel very strongly about the state of this country. When I reacted to my first Ren video ever and it had a really powerful political message, my YouTube channel kind of morphed into a reaction channel where I get to listen to new music, which I already love doing, and I still get to talk about these really deep societal issues that I care so much about, based purely on the name Money Games. Like, I already know that this topic's gonna be right down my alley, and I am so psyched to get into it. Both of my cats are kind of just sitting here staring at me, so yeah baby, just gonna sit and watch me the whole time. They're just gonna sit there and watch me the whole time. My cats are just like, all right, here we go.
It's a strange time we're living in. War can put fear in. Hierarchy parties, they make us feel inferior. Greed runs through parliament interiors. Devils walk among us, they fit the criteria. Eerie theory, strife, fearing, weary-minded men when we're clearly living in dictatorships. Nearly blinded by illusions to choose who's fooling who. A ball chain to your shoes, I'm pained. It's a crying shame. The pursuit of our own wealth lights a flame that makes greed a game that lets this whole war burn. As the world turns, the whole world burns. But money was invented for trade, but now those bits of paper twist hearts, make slaves, turns a saint into a sinner, a child into a kid.
I'm having problems with the program I'm running, so my video might be a little choppy.
Turns a saint into a sinner, a child into a killer. His finger on the trigger of a money game. Oh, rain, 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 rain. A storm it comes our way, and those who rise through distorted lies, poison in the veins. But we like to point the blame, 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 blame. It's easier to blame, but point the mirror at ourselves. We're all part of this old money game. Stop. Dear Mr. President, it's evident that everyone's a resident of fear when they support these ideas to keep us separate, when they make us believe that everybody is coming to terrorize you in the streets. They say badly through gritted teeth, that's my right to hate, that's freedom of speech. But when did freedom become a reason to hate? A way to justify a racist slur or insult we make? There's an irony in freedom, cause us in the West, we have pillaged and plundered the middle class savages, colonized all of the rest. That's called hypocrisy. Preach a certain value that you never keep yourselves. Your country was in flames, you denigrate yourselves in a second. Still you spit your venom, demonizing immigrants when really you're the immigrant, cause all of us are immigrants or descended from immigrants. Irony is imminent. I'll shed the light on immigrants. America was colonized by Britain. Britain, it was colonized by Rome, and also colonized by the Saxons. They were German, by the way. You know how people throw shade upon the Germans because of history's pain, and yet we made the same mistakes all again. Demonize a whole people, Jewish.
I love how he's given a little history lesson. I want to hear that again.
Break yourselves in a second. Still you spit your venom, demonizing immigrants when really you're the immigrant, cause all of us are immigrants or descended from immigrants. Irony is imminent. I'll shed the light on immigrants. America was colonized by Britain. Britain, it was colonized by Rome, and also colonized by the Saxons. They were German, by the way. You know how people throw shade upon the Germans because of history's pain, and yet we made the same mistakes all again. Demonize a whole people, Jewish or Muslim, the same and the same. Old situations play on repeat. The same old TV shows repeat. Yeah, we worship the bleak. Our opinions aren't our own and we follow like sheep. There's no left, there's no right. In the middle we sleep. Rain, 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 rain. A storm it comes our way. And those who rise through distorted lies, poison in the veins. But we'd like to point the blame, 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 blame. It's easier to blame, but point the mirror at ourselves. We're all part of this whole money game.
What was the point of that? Oh no, he's gonna light him on fire. Oh no. Audio. It's kind of weird now. It's very staticky. Oh no! Sorry. No! There's no way he actually poured gasoline on himself, but the way it drips though does seem thicker than water. I don't know if I'm imagining it. Okay, well, don't light yourself on fire, Ren. First of all, I would like to point out another single shot video. And as always, shout out to the camera person because they're killing it. I don't know who's under the mask, but they're also doing an excellent job of playing guitar when basically blindfolded. Let's look at some of these lyrics. Looking at these lyrics, It's interesting because Ren in this song, he's calling out the greed that runs through governments and authorities. But at the same time, there's a few examples in this song that make me feel like this is touching on the money games, kind of like in the point of view of the poor or the working class. I mean, it's not like it's the working class or the poor that's like narrating this song, but it's speaking about how the money game affects just normal everyday people. It's kind of a really interesting point of view because a couple of Ren's last songs, like Starry Night, like he's speaking about the things that like the government or authority or whoever what they do to perpetuate this corporate greed or actions that benefit the billionaires and hurt the working class. And here he's speaking more about the everyday people that are just kind of going along with it and playing to the tune of the rich. Here's a few examples of this. They say proudly through gritted teeth, it's my right to hate. That's freedom of speech. So this part is really speaking to how like people will use freedom as an excuse to, like he says, justify their racial slurs or insults. Here it's talking about how money corrupts people, makes slaves turn a saint into a sinner, a child into a killer. And then it's, you know, how money is poison in our veins and how we like to point the blame, right? People, even working class people who feel like they don't have any control over their financial situations, they might be pointing the blame at other people, whether that is authority figures, the government, or even towards each other. And what I find is that it's very common for people to blame each other and blame their neighbors, you know, blame the liberals are making our lives worse, or the immigrants are making our lives worse. And people who do that are playing into the games that the rich are creating. Everyone's a resident of fear when they support these ideas that keep us separate. So they make us believe that everybody is coming to terrorize you in the streets. So they say proudly through gritted teeth, it's my right to hate. That's freedom of speech. And it is kind of hypocritical, right? If you know American history, I'm sure this is similar for people in Britain. If you know history, you know that Britain like colonized the whole world, right? And you know, he touches on this. The West pillaged and plundered, murdered like savages, colonized all the rest. And he's pointing out the hypocrisy in the fact that now people in the West are so against immigrants. And, you know, I mean, especially right now, it's kind of crazy how relevant this topic is with all the ICE raids going on and, you know, the mass deportations and stuff that's happening in America. You know, he wrote the song 6 years ago, and it's probably hitting harder than ever in America right now with everything that's going on. Preach a certain value that you'd never keep yourselves if your country was in flames. You'd emigrate yourselves in a second. So I think that's referencing the fact that people come to the West looking for a better life, being told or disillusioned by the American dream. You know, there's quite a few people that come to America to seek refuge from dangerous situations in their country. And, you know, America does take refugees. And it's kind of wild. Like, I've heard of a few scenarios, especially recently, of refugees that literally were approved to seek refuge in America being deported. But in general, I find that a lot of people in America don't really think about these situations from the other person's point of view. And Ren is kind of forcing you to do that in these lyrics, saying that if your country was in flames, if you lived in a country that was being terrorized, you would also try to go somewhere else seeking a better life. He doesn't say anything about like illegal immigrants per se, but I know if I was in a life or death scenario, I would not want to sit and wait around for all the legal paperwork to go through and go through that whole long process of trying to do it the right way. You know, if it was an emergency in my life and my family was possibly in danger. I'm just saying, demonizing immigrants when really you're an immigrant, because all of us are immigrants or descended from immigrants. Irony is imminent. And yeah, I really love this notion that it's like we need to think more deeply about this instead of just letting our hate and fear of people who are different than us and people who come from different places than we do, letting that overtake our morals. My very first video I put out, I very briefly spoke about immigration, and I had quite a few people being sort of aggressive in the comments about immigration and saying that I don't know what I'm talking about, like I don't understand. I had a comment trying to convince me that immigration is this horrible thing and all immigrants that come into this country are criminals and they bring drugs and illegal activities, and like it just felt so dehumanizing the way that these people were talking about immigrants. I really don't understand why people can't look at immigrants as human beings. Like, they're your fellow human beings. Let's think about this logically also. If immigrants are coming into the country, let's say it's illegally, right? That's one thing that you have going against you. So, would you really want to come into this country and start committing crimes and doing all these crazy things so then you can just get like thrown out? So you can increase your risk of being caught and then getting sent back. I don't think illegal immigrants like want to risk that. So it doesn't make sense in my brain that like people say the majority of illegal immigrants are committing horrible crimes. I always doubted that to be true. But then when I actually go and look up the statistics, there are statistics and data and actual reports that support the fact that natural born American citizens cause significantly more crime than illegal immigrants. Sorry, the information is out there, like you can find it if you want. But the thing that shocked me the most about that first video I put out is that some of the people that were against immigrants claimed to be Ren fans. And I'm like, if you're a Ren fan and you feel this strongly about how horrible immigrants are, do you listen to his lyrics? I'm just wondering, do you listen to his lyrics? Have you heard this song? Because this just really has me thinking, like, I'm fired up right now. I had a few comments on my first video I ever put out, not Ren related, just very briefly talking about immigrants and talking about how horrible it is that ICE killed American citizens. This was like after I put out my Ren reaction. I had people going back to my first video and being like, hey, I found your channel because of your Ren reactions. I decided to check out your first video and I don't agree with anything you're saying. I'm unsubscribing. But they're Ren fans. But he has this song where he is talking about immigrants and how it is wrong to hate and fear immigrants. But then I was getting hate for being like, hey, I shouldn't be killing American citizens. I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. But besides those few Ren fans that I got commenting on my first video, everyone else in the community has been super lovely to me, and I've got nothing but love on all of my Ren reactions. It was really just like my first video. I had a few lingering Ren fans, people who claim to be Ren fans, like hating on me because I don't think immigrants should be getting harassed the way they are. All right, now this next part right here, Ren gives us a little history lesson. He says, I'll shed the light on immigrants. America was colonized by Britain. Britain, it was colonized by Rome. Also colonized by the Saxons. They were German, by the way. You know how people throw shade upon the Germans because of history's pain. And yet we make the same mistakes all again. How hard does that hit? How relevant is that right now? Seeing America making some of the same mistakes that Germany did in the 1930s. Speaking of Germany, not to bring up my first video again, but I remember in the comments of that video, one of you guys, I believe it was Pariah Carey, obsessed with your username, by the way, but Pariah Carey in my comments was responding to one of the people who was basically dehumanizing immigrants and making excuses for ICE officers, saying they're just doing their job. And Pariah Carey said, oh, they're just doing their job. That's the same exact thing people said in Germany to justify the Nazis' actions. The Nazi officers, they're just doing their job. But here we go. Ren's literally pointing this out for us. I am just shocked that this was written 6 years ago. It feels like it's so relevant with what's going on right now. You know, people were throwing shade upon the Germans because of history's pain, and yet we make the same mistakes all again. Demonize a whole people, Jewish or Muslim. That is happening right now. Man, it's pretty wild. Old situations play on repeat. The same old TV shows repeat. Ren really likes bringing up TV shows, reality TV, and all of that. He seems to really like to talk about how media is distracting us from real world problems. We follow like sheep. This imagery of sheep is coming back. Ren has called people sheep quite a few times and has a sheep as his new mascot for Comply More within the Vincent's Tales. But yeah, the message of the song saying we like to point the blame at everyone but ourselves. But let's point the mirror at ourselves and see what are we doing that allows us to play into this money game. This song's interesting because Ren is asking people to look in the mirror and ask themselves, what am I doing to contribute to this money game? And how everyone's pointing fingers at each other, pointing fingers at our neighbor, pointing fingers at immigrants, pointing fingers at the government, but no one wants to look at themselves in the mirror and be like, hey, maybe I'm playing into this. And you know what? To a certain extent, we are. It's kind of crazy to me because how I see things is the government wants us to hate immigrants. They want immigrants to be a scapegoat for all the problems that are going on within our society. It's really quite crazy, and there are so many studies that prove that immigrants actually help the American economy, but the American government wants you to think that immigrants are bad for the economy, but that is not true. You can Google it, you can go out and do your research and find so many studies and so much data that says immigrants are good for our economy. And yes, like I truly believe like billionaires and the rich class are to blame for a lot of the problems we have. All the corporations that are bribing government officials and whatnot. I think that is a huge reason why our hyper-capitalistic society is the way it is. At the end of the day, we are the people. We have so much more power than we give ourselves credit for. I just think it's rich that people will sit and blame immigrants for how bad our economy is when, like, if you think about it, a lot of those people are the same people who still shop at Amazon, still give their money to Walmart. I'm telling you right now, Amazon and Walmart are way worse for the economy than immigrants are. You know how many local businesses end up dying because of companies like Amazon and Walmart? Ever since Amazon's creation, it has been so much harder on local and small businesses. And yes, I know a lot of small businesses use Amazon, but they can take up to 50% of these businesses' earnings. In the end, like, there's so many people using Amazon and less people shopping locally, supporting local businesses within their own town. You know, people are just ordering stuff online now. People don't go out as much anymore into their community and support those businesses that are directly around them. And I think that's really sad. And I think that hurts our economy more than anything. Ren is saying it's time for everyone to look in the mirror and see how you're playing into this money game. And our money is our power. So if you're using your money the wrong way and you're supporting these large corporations that do things to hurt us, it is partially our faults. We can point fingers all we want at other people and the rich and everything, but if we're the people who are supporting those people, we might be partly to blame. That's all I'm saying. This was a hell of a talk. I really enjoyed the message of this one. I can probably talk about this topic for hours and hours and hours, but I'm going to end the video here. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. I am going to do part 2 of the money games hopefully pretty soon. Let me know if there's anything in this song that I didn't touch on that you would like to explain more, or if there's any references or anything of the sort that I may have missed. Love you all so much. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.